Mortal Kombat 12 has received its first teaser trailer. The long-running success of the Mortal Kombat franchise has meant that a new game in the world-famous fighting game franchise was an inevitability. However, the question still remained if NetherRealm's next game would be a new Mortal Kombat title, Injustice 3, or something else entirely. Mortal Kombat creator Ed Boon narrowed things down on Twitter, confirming that NetherRealm's next game would either be Mortal Kombat 12 or Injustice 3. Some time later, a Warner Bros. Discovery executive let the cat out of the bag, confirming that Mortal Kombat 12 was in development. Mortal Kombat fans are still waiting for Mortal Kombat 12 to get its full reveal, but rumor has it that it could happen at some point later this month. While Mortal Kombat fans are still waiting for the full reveal, they have been treated to a brief, but interesting teaser. At the very end of a video thanking fans for supporting Mortal Kombat these past 30 years, fans can see what appears to be an hourglass dumping out sand. The camera then zooms into focus on a single grain of sand, which then explodes. This has left some fans scratching their heads, but is likely a nod to the events of Mortal Kombat 11's story. Mortal Kombat 11's story was all about Kronika, the Keeper of Time, and how she was manipulating time after the death of her son Shinnok. Kronika is able to do this using her Hourglass artifact, though by the end of Mortal Kombat 11's Aftermath expansion, Kronika is long gone. The Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath expansion concludes with one of two endings. Either Shang Tsung or Liu Kang gain control of the Hourglass and use it to create a new era, essentially a brand new timeline. Based on this teaser, it seems likely that Mortal Kombat 12 will be following up on the events of the Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath expansion, though what that means is unclear. Perhaps it will forge ahead with a brand new timeline that essentially reboots the story, or maybe it will closely follow one of the endings from the expansion and treat it as canon. Boon, however, is known for trolling fans online. In the past month, he has teased fans about Mortal Kombat 12 in various ways. Mortal Kombat 12 has received yet another teaser, and this one has some serious implications for the future of the franchise's story. The first Mortal Kombat 12 teaser was extremely brief, coming at the very end of a video celebrating the long-running fighting game franchise's 30th anniversary. The teaser showed what appeared to be an hourglass being tipped over with grains of sand falling out. The video then zoomed in on one specific grain of sand that then exploded. This seemed to suggest that Mortal Kombat 12 would be following up on the conclusion of Mortal Kombat 11 and more specifically its Aftermath expansion. Now it seems that Mortal Kombat may 12 be rebooting the story and rolling things back to the very beginning. The new Mortal Kombat 12 teaser shows a close-up of a ticking clock. The clock hand reaches 11, shakes violently, skips over 12, and then lands at 1. While this could be interpreted in a number of ways, it seems to be suggesting that Mortal Kombat 12's story will be a reboot and start from scratch, though it's entirely possible that this teaser means something else. According to the latest leaks, Mortal Kombat 12 will actually be titled Mortal Kombat 1 and will feature guest characters like Homelander from The Boys and Peacemaker from DC Comics. Mortal Kombat 1 will be fully revealed within the next couple of weeks and is aiming to launch at some point this coming September. Come launch, Mortal Kombat fans will apparently have a $70 Standard Edition, $110 Premium Edition, and $250 Collector's Edition to choose from, while the Nintendo Switch Cloud version will cost $60. No PS4 or Xbox One versions were mentioned. The leaks didn't include much information on the Mortal Kombat 1 roster, but fans can expect the game to feature the must-haves and some new characters. As far as guest characters go, the leaks say that the new Mortal Kombat game will have a character pass that will add new fighters as DLC, with Peacemaker and Homelander from The Boys floated as two possible, but unconfirmed, options. Ultimately, fans can only speculate until more official details are shared for Mortal Kombat 12. Alternatively, perhaps this is a suggestion that a Mortal Kombat remake or remaster is in the works. Reports have indicated that a Mortal Kombat remastered collection was in development at one point before getting scrapped, so perhaps that idea is being revisited. While it could be another troll, fans now think Ed Boon has left some cryptic clues about characters who could be on the Mortal Kombat 12 roster. This latest set of clues was dropped in a Twitter Space session that was held by Boon. For the uninitiated, Twitter Spaces are live audio conversations that can be held on the platform, which can be joined by anyone to listen in on. According to those who listened in, there was a music playlist that played near the end, which some believe housed clues about Mortal Kombat 12's roster, among them being fan favorites like Rain, Melina, Sindel, Smoke, Striker, Scorpion, and more. The full list of songs was compiled by Twitter user Kevin Kalan, with songs that are all relevant to past Mortal Kombat characters in some way. For example, Purple Rain by Prince is directly tied to the whole conceit behind Rain's creation. Rain was initially created as a joke character, being a purple ninja like Scorpion in Sub-Zero, who was then named Rain to pay homage to the late musician. Rain ended up being one of the universe's most popular characters, though hasn't been a part of the base roster since 2006's Mortal Kombat Armageddon. The other songs that are a part of the playlist have also gotten fans speculating, with the choices also relevant to characters that could potentially return in Mortal Kombat 12. On one hand, an hourglass reaching the end of its sand could be taken literally. It's almost time for Mortal Kombat 12 to be revealed, and the revelation should usher the game in with a bang. However, thanks to Mortal Kombat 11's plot revolving around Kronika's hourglass, that's not the only way to read this teaser. It could simply be interpreted as the previous universe's time running out, with the explosion at the end representing a big bang as Liu Kang forges a new timeline. But once again, there may be a more subtle meaning here. Fans have been discussing what else this teaser could indicate about Mortal Kombat 12, and one of the more likely ideas involves some sort of multiverse. The last grain of sand exploding could be seen as one world becoming many, which already fits with Mortal Kombat's realm system. 11 Malawian Kwacha's was about Mortal Kombat's past and present converging, so it would make sense to go even further in the following game. There's a case to be made that 12 Malawian Kwacha's would be better served by establishing its new universe, but after Mortal Kombat 9 and 10 just did that, another soft reboot is the perfect time to mix things up. Mortal Kombat 12 has several ways to tackle a multiverse. The first is building off of what it already has, that being the two previous timelines from older MK titles, as well as numerous time loops implied in 11 Malawian Kwacha's. Characters could be portrayed with the same tone that they had in a given title, differentiating this somewhat from MK11's past and present selves. Still, this is derivative of MK11's plot, so 12 Malawian Kwacha's may instead pick up after both endings of Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath. The bad ending where Shang Tsung takes over could serve as an antagonistic force, and the story would expand into other worlds later on. One other direction that Mortal Kombat is uniquely suited to taking is a direct crossover with guest properties like Injustice. With both the Injustice games and Mortal Kombat 11 being predicated on different versions of characters fighting, it's not out of the question to have them merge into another Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe game. Even NetherRealm's rumored Marvel fighting game could get in on the action with a couple Marvel guests popping in. Whether a multiverse is truly in the cards for Mortal Kombat 12 or not, instituting one down the line would be a great way to expand the classic fighting game franchise's scope even further. There's no denying that Mortal Kombat 11 had a fairly stacked roster at 37 total characters, but Mortal Kombat 12 might have to one-up its predecessor to satisfy fans. When Mortal Kombat 11 first dropped, fans were up in arms about Melina being missing from the initial roster. While she was later added with a DLC pack, Mortal Kombat 12 needs to offer a deep roster right off the bat in order to avoid similar disappointment. The most recent teaser trailer for Mortal Kombat 12 showed an hourglass, and after the camera pressed in on a single grain of sand within, an explosion destroyed all of it. While the teaser is up to interpretation, many fans took this to mean that the events of Mortal Kombat 11 had shattered the canon timeline, which definitely sounds plausible. If this is the case, Mortal Kombat 12 has more freedom than any of its predecessors to play with its roster. After over 30 years in business, the canon lore of Mortal Kombat can be a bit confusing. According to the in-game arcade interactions, at least Shiva's version of events, Goro is, in fact, dead. He also appears as a decaying corpse in the background of the Goro's Lair stage. However, there's also very little information about how exactly Goro would have died. Suffice it to say, if Mortal Kombat 12 is opening up a multiverse or changing the timeline, all those details may be completely irrelevant. While Mortal Kombat 12 will likely feature exciting crossovers, it needs to figure out a way to bring one of its most iconic antagonists back into the fray. If the timeline is changed, shifted, or shattered by the events of Mortal Kombat 11, NetherRealm Studios will have a clean slate. Whether it wants to confirm Goro's death and bring him back to life or simply resurrect him from the dead in a terrifying zombie-like form, Mortal Kombat 12 needs to bring Goro back. Even though Goro has only sat out a single release, it's already been almost a decade since he was a playable character in Mortal Kombat. Whether they began as secret characters or mere palette swaps, the ninjas from the early Mortal Kombat titles have cemented themselves as fan favorites, eventually growing to be as beloved as both Sub-Zero and Scorpion. Still, a few of the most important ones were conspicuously missing as playable characters from Mortal Kombat 11, primarily Ermac, Reptile, and Smoke. A recent Twitter space held by Ed Boon appears to point to at least a few of these key characters returning. Following Boon's broadcast, fans dissected his playlist and suggested that the title of each song could be read as a hint about an upcoming character in Mortal Kombat 12. Examples like Purple Rain were read as an obvious nod to a character like Rain, the purple-clad ninja, but fans also suggested that a song by the Silvers was meant as a nod to Smoke, the silver-clad ninja. Despite their respective humble beginnings, Ermac, Reptile, and Smoke have all grown into unique characters with rich lore and memorable personalities, with characters like Ermac ranking as one of the most dangerous characters in Mortal Kombat. They're now all an integral part of Mortal Kombat, and Mortal Kombat 12 should aim to have them all, including characters that made small cameos in Mortal Kombat 11 like Sector and Syrax. Since their fighting styles and abilities are so varied, the various ninjas of Mortal Kombat add much-needed diversity to the roster and help to keep the game feeling fresh. Speaking of Warner Brothers, according to a Warner Brothers executive, there could potentially be a brand new Superman game in the works. The DC Universe has plenty of video games based off of its stable of superheroes, though many of them in the last couple of years have been focused on groups of heroes or exclusively Batman. Some fans hope that DC licensed games could be focused on other iconic names, such as Superman, which is what is seemingly to be the case according to current CEO David Zaslav. After the merger of Warner Media and Discovery last year, Zaslav had been overhauling a lot of DC-related projects including its video games and theatrical films. One of the biggest things that fans are looking forward to is the new Superman Legacy film directed by James Gunn, who is also put at the forefront of the DC film universe. This film was directly commented on in an earnings call with Zaslav regarding the first quarter of 2023. Zaslav discussed the potential of Warner Bros. Discovery's current portfolio of IPs, where they could all be a part of various interactive entertainment formats. This includes feature-length films and video games, bringing up Hogwarts Legacy's significant sales performance as how it could work. He specifically states that Hogwarts Legacy was such a big success due to how it brought players into the game's world, and that could be possible for other IPs the company owns, including Superman. According to Zaslav, when a new product or show is launched, a game can also be used as a sort of in-betweener. He uses Superman as an example, stating, "It may be in the next couple of years that we launch a Superman movie and people spend more time and there's more economics of people just hanging out in the Superman world and universe." While he doesn't directly say that a new Superman game was in development, it's at the very least implied that it can happen in the future. Zaslav had previously stated last year that he was looking to bolster DC's gaming output, and it seems like his statement during this call reflects this. He further states that with technology evolving, he expects people to spend just as much time gaming alongside film and other, long-form storytelling, businesses. He also expects that Warner Bros. Will see plenty of profits if it makes games based on the worlds of these popular IPs. For the time being, fans will need to see if Zaslav's initiative will end up producing a brand new Superman game in the same breath as the DC cinematic revitalization. According to the latest earning report from Warner Bros. Discovery, Hogwarts Legacy has crossed $1 billion in just over 3 months. Despite the controversy surrounding the title and the franchise author, Hogwarts Legacy has emerged as one of the most successful releases for Warner Bros. Games to date. The company's latest earning figures suggest that it may have an ambitious few months ahead for the game. Although launched in early February, it didn't take much time for Hogwarts Legacy to generate excitement among the fans. During its early access launch period, Hogwarts Legacy became the biggest WB Games launch on Steam, just days before global release. At the time its peak player count hit 489,139 on Steam and currently sits at a whopping 879,308. Almost 6 times more than the peak player count for the company's second biggest title on the platform, Multiversus. The game's early momentum carried well into the months following the global launch and prompted WB Games to declare Hogwarts Legacy as its biggest and best-selling game. In the Warner Bros. Discovery earnings report for the first quarter of 2023, the company stated that Hogwarts Legacy has sold 15 million copies and has generated over $1 billion in retail sales since its release. The reported figure comes weeks after the company claimed that Hogwarts Legacy sold 256% more than WB Games' predicted sales. It's also worth noting that this sales milestone is entirely attributed to PC and current-gen consoles. Now, with Hogwarts Legacy releasing on Xbox One and PS4, it wouldn't be surprising to see the title cross even bigger sales figures in the coming months. Updated stats for Hogwarts Legacy reveal the most popular house in the game. Players get to take on the role of a Hogwarts student in Hogwarts Legacy, and fans can choose to be a part of their favorite house through a sorting hat ceremony near the beginning of the story. As expected, the four houses in Hogwarts Legacy are Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, and Slytherin. While the main story of Hogwarts Legacy remains the same, users do get to play an exclusive quest depending upon the house they choose, with some players starting the game 4 times to experience all of them. Now, new information reveals the most popular house in Hogwarts Legacy, along with other interesting stats. As revealed by Chandler Wood, community manager at Avalanche Software, Slytherin is the most popular house in Hogwarts Legacy with 6,751,000 users. Gryffindor is in second place with 6,088,000 players, followed by Hufflepuff at 5,115,000. Finally, Ravenclaw is the least popular house in Hogwarts Legacy, as it only has 3,523,000 users, a bit more than half of Slytherin. Slytherin has been at the top of this list since Hogwarts Legacy came out, so it comes as no surprise to see it continue to hold its position. On the other hand, other positions have changed since release, as Hufflepuff was below Ravenclaw in the initial Hogwarts Legacy rankings. The exclusive Hufflepuff quest, which allows gamers to visit Azkaban, may influence some players' decisions, offering a possible explanation for the difference in the rankings. It'll be interesting to see if these rankings change over the lifespan of Hogwarts Legacy, but it seems like Ravenclaw may forever be in last place, as there is a massive gap between it and the other houses. Hogwarts Legacy also reveals some interesting stats related to player engagement, confirming that fans have cast Revelio a staggering 111,579,000,000 times. Gamers have used ancient magic finishers 1,849,000,000 times, with players spending 542,625,000 hours in the world of Hogwarts Legacy. Finally, it reveals that 17.3 million unique users have played Hogwarts Legacy since its release. Gamers should note Hogwarts Legacy is out now on PS4 and Xbox One, with a Switch version coming later, so these numbers will likely increase in the coming weeks. A new video revealed that the Hogwarts Legacy runs well on PS4 and Xbox One, so users may not experience many issues while trying to play on previous generation machines. Beyond the console launch, fans have wondered what the future holds for the massive hit in terms of new content. While the company hasn't confirmed any DLC expansions for the game, Hogwarts Legacy did get some cosmetics as part of a Twitch drop. In any case, only time will tell whether Hogwarts Legacy fans will see any narrative expansions or news about the sequel anytime soon. Bandai Namco announced that Little Nightmares, the horror platformer by developer Tarsier Studios and produced by Bandai Namco Europe, has sold more than 12 million units. The number includes Little Nightmares, its sequel Little Nightmares 2 and the mobile game Very Little Nightmares developed by Alike Studio and released in 2019. That's some amazing numbers for what might be seen as a plucky little niche title, but people like their horror games in all forms and sizes, which is the takeaway from this. I love Little Nightmares and I'm very glad the series is doing well. Recent Bandai Namco job listings point to the continuation of Tarsier Studios' hit horror franchise Little Nightmares. The second installment of the Little Nightmares series released to gamer acclaim in early 2021 and brought it to new heights. Little Nightmares developer Tarsier Studios was acquired in December 2019 by an ever-expanding Embracer Group. With Little Nightmares 2 still in production at the time under Bandai Namco Publishing, the studio would be tragically ripped from the franchise after the sequel released in 2021, as Bandai Namco maintained ownership of the Little Nightmares IP. After this separation, questions arose about the future of the franchise, with Tarsia Studios no longer being able to work on it under Embracer Group. Recent Bandai Namco job listings on LinkedIn and Games Jobs direct call for an intern and a producer to specifically work on the Little Nightmares IP. With Tarsia Studios out of the picture, according to these listings, it seems like Bandai Namco Europe, operating out of Lyon, France, will be handling the development of the franchise moving forward. One of the postings mentions managing the product development from concept until release date as one of the role's responsibilities. This seems to indicate that the next Little Nightmares title is still in the very early stages of pre-production, if at all, and is likely years away from releasing. Tarsia Studios is a smaller team, made up of around 70+ employees as of 2022, and likely less while both highly praised Little Nightmares titles were being worked on. With a team of that size, the Little Nightmares games understandably took a long time to develop. Now that development of the franchise is in the hands of the much larger Bandai Namco Europe, it's possible that the turnaround of the next Little Nightmares title could be somewhat shorter. But the quality need to hold up in the hands of another developer. Little Nightmares 2's ending left the door open for a third numbered title. While these job postings didn't mention Little Nightmares 3 specifically, it would be safe to assume that's the direction Bandai Namco is going to take. Of course, there's always the possibility of a spin-off happening instead. Tarsia Studios expanded the world of Little Nightmares with the second installment, so a spin-off following other characters caught up in the grim world of the Pale City would make a lot of sense. With Tarsia Studios creating a new IP with Embracer Group that looks very similar to its past work on the horror franchise, and Bandai Namco Europe taking over development of the next installment of Little Nightmares, it looks like fans of the series and of horror games in general are about to have it really good. Rumors that Konami and Sony have penned some sort of PlayStation exclusivity deal have resurfaced. Specifically, fans wanted to see 3 of Konami's most beloved and long-dormant franchises, Silent Hill, Metal Gear Solid, and Castlevania, revived. And Sony stepping in to provide funding seemed an ideal scenario. The October 2022 announcement of the Silent Hill 2 remake as a PS5 console exclusive only served to fuel the leaks about a Sony and Konami partnership. More recently, rumors about a Metal Gear Solid 3 remake have begun making the rounds, and these have been somewhat supported by comments from industry insiders. MGS3 remake might occur at the next PlayStation showcase. This was followed by Windows Central's Jez Corden stating that he'd heard Sony and Konami had made a deal involving Silent Hill, Metal Gear, and possibly a new Castlevania game. These rumors about an MGS3 remake by Konami have been spurred, coincidentally enough, by 2 musicians. The first was Donna Burke, the singer behind the main themes of 2 Metal Gear Solid games, who shared an image of herself holding a card that said, "Snake Eater." Though it was later clarified that Burke was not working on a song for a Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, or any MGS project for that matter, the idea remained in many people's minds. A couple weeks later, the composer for Hogwarts Legacy, J. Scott Raccozzi, shared a brief clip on Instagram of their version of the Metal Gear Solid theme. This may have just been Raccozzi having a bit of fun, but most of the artist's Instagram posts are about official projects they've worked on. And it's also worth noting that the video has since been removed. Now, fans will be waiting for an official date for the 2023 PlayStation Showcase, when the announcement, or lack thereof, about a Metal Gear Solid 3 remake will all but confirm for many people whether Sony and Konami indeed have some sort of exclusivity deal. If the rumors about both Silent Hill and MGS pan out, gamers will then tune their radars for any updates about the Castlevania series. On social media, industry insider Jeff Grubb has teased when the upcoming PlayStation Showcase event will be held, as the summer announcement season starts heating up. Grubb posted an image of when this upcoming PlayStation event would be held and compared it to other events and announcement showcases that have been confirmed for the year. In the replies, other users chimed in with their guesses as to when Sony will play its hand. While other developers and companies have confirmed when they will have their headline events of the upcoming season, Sony has kept quiet for the most part. Its most recent broadcast was the State of Play dedicated to Final Fantasy XVI just a few weeks ago. With the next title in Square Enix's long-running series coming next month, Sony's big-budget slate for the rest of the year remains up in the air. But, gamers may not have to wait long to see what is still coming to the PS5. On Twitter, Grubb stated that the next PlayStation showcase might occur the week of May 25th, before Summer Game Fest. The window would also fall just over 2 weeks before the 2023 Xbox Games Showcase set for June 11th. However, Grubb did not state which exact date or time the PlayStation Showcase would be, nor did he indicate what may be shown during the broadcast. As for the window that the PlayStation Showcase may happen, given that Sony tends to host events on Wednesdays and Thursdays, the dates of May 24th and June 1st are the ideal candidates that would fall within the window. Andy Robinson from VGC also stated that either May 25th or June 1st would be the most likely dates for Sony to take advantage of. Though details remain scarce, fans waiting for word on Spider-Man May 2nd also want to tune into the PlayStation Showcase, as the timing of the broadcast is ripe for Insomniac to take advantage of. Between what has been announced already, and with more rumored projects in the works, the eyes of the industry will be on Sony this summer. There is also a Bloodborne remastered rumor, obviously, but we have to wait and see. It's been 2 years since a showcase, and I can't wait for this one. We got some update on Marvel's Spider-Man 2, not what you'll think, but it indicates something might be on the horizon soon. Saturday, May 6th, is Free Comic Book Day, and to celebrate, Sony teamed up with Marvel to release a comic that will serve as a prequel to the upcoming Marvel Spider-Man 2. Take a look at what Peter, Miles, and MJ have been up to after the events of Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales. When the story opens, MJ and Peter are back from Symkaria, and MJ has just finished her first book, Perilous: A Journey into War-Torn Symkaria. But unfortunately, sales aren't going well. She's been forced to go on J. Jonah Jameson's Just the Facts podcast to try and drum up support for her book. As their ideologies clash and the interview starts to go south, the Spider-Men literally crash the interview while fighting the tarantula, a familiar face from Spider-Geddon number 0. Miles and Peter wrap up the tarantula, which also wraps up MJ's disastrous interview. As the story continues, we see several worlds colliding in the lives of Miles, Peter, and MJ. Miles, a student at Brooklyn Visions Academy, sees all of his friends solidifying their plans for college, but he is feeling left out. He's been so focused on other things, he hasn't had time to think about the future. There are plenty of directions he could go, but trying to pick the right one is overwhelming and paralyzing. Meanwhile, Peter is back in Queens, living in the house he grew up in. But he's drowning in bills. May had mortgaged the house to keep FAST running during the events of Marvel's Spider-Man, and now Peter is left with the responsibility of finding a new job in order to make the payments. MJ would make a perfect housemate to help with the mortgage, but she needs to stay in the city for her job as an associate editor at the Daily Bugle. At least that's what she tells Peter. There is unspoken tension between them, as both struggle to take the next step in their relationship. On top of all that, there's a new gang in town, and they appear to be using magic. Our heroes work together to track down and confront members of this gang, using their superpowers to uncover the gang's leader, the Hood. This new supervillain appears to have supernatural abilities that defy mere webs and fists. While Miles, Peter, and MJ attempt to balance their responsibilities to the city, and each other, they keep coming back to one of the main themes of this action-packed issue: is magic real? Make sure to hop into your local comic shop and see if they're carrying this free issue on Free Comic Book Day this May 6th. If you prefer your comics digitally, keep an eye out for the comics release on the Marvel Unlimited app at a later date. Eagle-eyed Marvel Spider-Man 2 fans are noticing a potential gameplay clue hidden in the latest poster for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. The Marvel Spider-Man 2 version of Peter Parker is one of the many alternate web-slingers making a cameo appearance in Across the Spider-Verse. And a recent poster for the film has some players theorizing about a new ability he might have in his next game. Reddit user Pocklane pointed out that on the poster, the PlayStation Spider-Man appears with webbing under his arm, which many fans have dubbed web wings. Spider-Man had these web-like wings under his arms in his earlier comic book appearances, and they have appeared on and off again in various media since. In the live-action MCU films, Peter uses them as a retractable glider courtesy of Tony Stark, and Marvel Spider-Man hinted at him once employing them in the Insomniac universe. However, Peter notes that the idea didn't work out, causing him to scrap it. This hasn't stopped some fans from adding them to his classic suit in Marvel Spider-Man mods. Peter might revisit the concept of web wings in Marvel Spider-Man 2, which could allow players to glide across New York City in a manner similar to Batman in the Batman Arkham series. Of course, this is all just speculation from fans at this point, but the use of gliding as a supplement to Insomniac's already excellent web-swinging mechanics is an enticing idea that could help make Marvel's Spider-Man 2 bigger and better than the previous two entries when it swings onto the PlayStation 5 later this year. Sony has finally revealed that Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered will be available as a standalone game this month, while also detailing an upgrade path for owners of the original game. Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered is an upgraded version of the PS4 game, featuring improved visuals, ray-traced reflections, and a performance mode for 60 FPS gameplay. Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered was only available as a part of Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales Ultimate Edition, so owners of the PS4 game could not upgrade to this version without buying the bundle. In a new blog post, Sony now reveals that a standalone version of Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered will be available soon, and users with a copy of the base game can also choose to upgrade to this version. Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered will be available as a standalone purchase in May 2023 for $50. Owners of the PS4 version of Marvel's Spider-Man will be able to upgrade to the remastered edition for $10 when it launches, while Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales players can obtain Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered by upgrading to its Ultimate Edition from the game's main menu. It should be noted that this offer is valid for owners of both digital and physical versions of Marvel's Spider-Man, as Sony has shared a handy image that makes it clear. However, fans who redeemed any edition of Marvel's Spider-Man through PlayStation Plus will not be eligible for this upgrade. Users that fall in this category can choose to buy the remastered edition for $50, or they can get the PS4 version of Marvel's Spider-Man for cheap before going for the upgrade. Sony offered a similar upgrade path for Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection, so this appears to be the standard practice for first-party games. Sony also took this opportunity to reiterate that Marvel's Spider-Man 2 will release this fall on PS5. While it doesn't have a set release date, developer Insomniac Games seems confident about the game meeting its set launch date, and it will probably reveal more from Marvel's Spider-Man 2 at the next major PlayStation Showcase event. The upcoming 13th entry in the long-running Assassin's Creed franchise, Assassin's Creed Mirage, may have had its release window revealed. Assassin's Creed Mirage was first announced during Ubisoft Forward in September 2022, where it was revealed that the protagonist would be Basim and the setting would be in Baghdad. While other details have been scarce, the assurance was that the title's target release would be in 2023. Assassin's Creed is a franchise that has existed since 2007. With its rich history spanning 12 mainline titles, the in-game universe's lore is a wide array of stories waiting to be told. While recent titles have shifted to more of an open-world action-adventure gameplay, the press release for Assassin's Creed Mirage says that it will follow a structure similar to the first game, focusing on stealth, parkour, and assassinations. Previous interview revealed Assassin's Creed Mirage's influences, setting, and other details. However, amid all the discussions, no concrete release window was announced. According to a Reddit post by an anonymous GameStop employee, their computer displays several target release dates and marketing information for some games, one of them being Assassin's Creed Mirage. According to the shared screenshot, the game is intended to come out in August 2023. While it's possible that this is currently the intended release month for the title, there's always a chance that dates can move depending on the development status of the project. Recent rumors have stated that Assassin's Creed Mirage may have hit a production bump, and that could possibly move the target date further if it affects the development in a big way. There have been implications that the current focus of development is Assassin's Creed Infinity, a game hub acting as an animus that connects multiple games, although it was not stated how much the shift affected Mirage. As much as there's been talk of possible delays and possible release dates, information about Assassin's Creed Mirage has been scarce. While many gamers are relying on rumors to stay informed about the game, this isn't the first time there's been mention of an August 2023 release date. This is by no means a confirmation of the release date, of course, but more than one source pointing to the same date is at least noteworthy. Either way, there will hopefully be official confirmation of a release date for Assassin's Creed Mirage soon. Fans should note that Ubisoft is hosting a special presentation on June 12, 2023, featuring more information on its upcoming games. Assassin's Creed Mirage will probably be a huge part of the event, as Ubisoft is likely to reveal its final release date at this showcase. The 2023 Call of Duty game may be revealed on August 1st if the latest leaks and rumors are any indication. Call of Duty leaks start happening around this time every year, and it seems the upcoming 2023 version is no exception. There were reports indicating that Activision was actually going to skip releasing a full-fledged new Call of Duty game this year. If so, it would be the first time since 2005 that there wasn't a new Call of Duty game on the market. Activision has pushed back against these claims, and right now the expectation is that there will indeed be a new Call of Duty game this holiday season. Official details on what the project will entail are unavailable at the time of this writing, but a new report may have leaked an important date COD fans may want to keep an eye on. As reported by Tom Henderson of Insider Gaming, someone with a proven track record of accurate Call of Duty leaks, it seems the next game in the long-running first-person shooter franchise is going to be revealed on Tuesday, August 1st. The reveal is said to be taking place as part of an in-game event, following a trend that started with Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War's reveal a few years ago. The report indicated that August 1st was penciled in, so the plans could be in flux. Fans should always take leaks with a grain of salt, but Henderson has accurately leaked plenty of Call of Duty news in the past, so there's no reason to doubt him now. If the new Call of Duty game isn't announced until August, it will mean that fans will know about it just a few months ahead of its official release date. There are pros and cons to this approach, but it should mean that fans shouldn't have to wait terribly long after the reveal to jump into a beta. Previous rumors indicated that the 2023 Call of Duty game may come in the form of a campaign expansion for Modern Warfare 2 as opposed to a truly brand new experience, but that remains to be seen. Ultimately, Call of Duty fans will want to wait for official details from Activision. In the meantime, there should be plenty of new content for Modern Warfare 2 and the Call of Duty Warzone 2 Battle Royale to keep COD enthusiasts occupied while they wait to learn more about the 2023 game. A new Call of Duty leak reveals that the 2023 installment of the best-selling shooter franchise will be named Modern Warfare 3 and will feature a new Warzone map as part of its first season after launch. The Call of Duty machine has continued to churn out content for players as a live service platform since 2019's Modern Warfare reboot, and it's looking like the third installment of the reboot trilogy is on its way sooner than anticipated. With the majority of Activision studios supporting the franchise for years on end, this gap year would have meant a refresh for some of the teams working on Call of Duty as well as for some fans who've been feeling burnt out with the high frequency of annual releases. It was later claimed that premium DLC for the most recent title Modern Warfare 2 would take the place of a full game release in fall 2023, holding over fans who still enjoy the annual output of gaming's most popular FPS franchise. With the mysterious DLC having recently evolved into a fully fledged standalone game during development, new details have emerged about the game's title, maps, modes, and more. Insider Gaming has reported that this year's installment of the Call of Duty franchise will be called Modern Warfare 3, launching just 1 year after the release of 2022's Modern Warfare 2. Since Infinity Ward has had its hands full with MW2 and providing seasonal content in the months after its release, Sledgehammer Games, the studio behind Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, WW2, and Vanguard, has been developing the DLC, which has now turned into Modern Warfare 3. The upcoming iteration of Modern Warfare 3 will reportedly feature the typical three-pillared offering with a story campaign, multiplayer, and a co-op experience. Whereas Modern Warfare titles have always been the home of Spec Ops as the co-op mode, Modern Warfare 3 is rumored to instead feature zombies as a first for the modern military subseries. Insider Gaming adds that Activision is on the fence about whether to break the zombies mode off as a separate free-to-play title. Additionally, an expanded version of Las Almas, a location featured in Modern Warfare 2's campaign and multiplayer, will serve as the new Warzone map for the game's first season, which will reportedly begin on December 5th. With 2 major installments of the same Call of Duty subseries releasing in back-to-back years, fans are justified in feeling worried about just how iterative this sequel will turn out to be, especially since it started as DLC. While Sledgehammer Games is a slightly fresher studio, a year and a half removed from the 2021 launch of Call of Duty Vanguard, it will be interesting to see if it can deliver something special. Modern Warfare 3 is rumored to launch on November 10th, and fans may learn more about it next month at Summer Game Fest. A new developer update from Team Cherry, the team behind Hollow Knight Silk Song, has recently been shared on social media. Given that many fans have been patiently waiting for the sequel to the popular indie title since it was announced, gamers may not be pleased with what the development team has to share regarding Hollow Knight Silksong. Ever since the sequel was revealed in 2019, fans seem to have had high expectations for Hollow Knight Silksong. This is understandable, given how well received and successful its predecessor was when it first came out in 2017. However, Team Cherry has been tight-lipped about the Silksong's release date or launch period, even foregoing any new updates in the most recent Nintendo Indie World Showcase. Now, it seems that the development team is ready to address the fan base's concerns and used social media to make their announcement about their upcoming title. On Twitter, Matthew Griffin, who is handling PR and marketing for Team Cherry, shared news about the release date of Hollow Knight Silksong. According to the post, the video game was meant to be released in the first half of 2023, but the team has decided not to push through with it. Griffin reassures the fan base that development is still ongoing, likely to curb the community's fears of the project suddenly being discontinued. According to Griffin, the title has gotten quite big, and that the team is very excited about what is in store for players to discover when Silksong is finally released. Unfortunately, no announcements have been made for a release date or even launch period for Hollow Knight Silksong. Despite the lack of more concrete details, replies on Griffin's Twitter post were mostly positive and encouraging. Many fans were more concerned about the quality of the game being produced, and some even wished for the whole team to take care of themselves. Given how infamous the game development industry is with crunch times during production, the community seems to wish for the welfare of the team behind Hollow Knight Silksong. Griffin did state that more Hollow Knight Silksong details will be shared once development is closer to releasing the video game. Hopefully the team will give more frequent updates and be more active on visible channels like social media. The community will probably appreciate hearing more about how the development of Hollow Knight Silksong is progressing and will highly anticipate more news about the indie title in the future. Vince Zampella, co-founder and CEO of Respawn Entertainment, announced a new IP coming in a recent interview. Info about new game comes among a slew of other announcements from Respawn following the release of Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is reasserting Respawn Entertainment as one of the top video game studios in the industry right now. Critic reviews for the game have been largely positive, although a Star Wars Jedi Survivor's shaky PC port led to Respawn making some apologies, and people are reporting performance issues on all platforms. Still, the studio now has multiple hit franchises under its belt between Star Wars, Titanfall, and Apex Legends. Now, Zampella is beginning to tease something new coming from the studio that fans have never seen before. In a recent interview, Vince Zampella said Titanfall series director Steve Fukuda has a very small team over at Respawn right now dedicated to find the fun in something new. There isn't word at this time as to what this original IP could be or what type of genre the game may be. But there's plenty of reason for fans to be excited just based on Respawn's season track record alone. Zampella and Fukuda worked together at Infinity Ward on the first two highly praised games in the Call of Duty Modern Warfare series until leaving the studio for Respawn. Titanfall may second be one of the biggest sleeper hits in gaming history, with a failed launch that only turned into success off the strength of the game's small but avid fan base and regular updates from Respawn that made the game a modern cult classic. Respawn's follow-up shooter, Apex Legends, is one of the only games that keeps Fortnite from having complete supremacy over the Battle Royale space. Add the studio's two critically successful Star Wars titles into that mix, and there's a reputation that gives good reason for fans to believe whatever Fukuda and his team currently have in the works is worth watching out for. A couple of other games were also brought to light in Zampella's interview, both of which are Star Wars titles. One is said to be a shooter, which may strike interest in anyone aware of the fact that Zampella also just took over the helm of EA's floundering Battlefield franchise. The other game is apparently some kind of strategy title, a genre that hasn't been seen much in the Star Wars gaming space, but that makes perfect sense for a universe full of military battles. Even with so many hits already out there, it seems that the reputation of Respawn is only going to grow in the future. A brand new Star Wars real-time strategy game may be on its way if one source is to be believed. While Respawn and Bit Reactor are working on a new Star Wars strategy game, this is reportedly a new project yet to be officially announced. It's been quite a while since Star Wars gave RTS fans something to really sink their teeth into. The closest they had was the mobile game Star Wars Commander, which launched in 2014 and shut down in 2020. Before that was Star Wars Empire at War, a 2006 RTS developed by Petroglyph Games. Set during the Galactic Civil War, Empire at War let players command fleets and armies loyal to either the Empire or Rebellion. A commercial and critical hit, some still consider Empire at War to be one of the best Star Wars games of all time. Empire at War fans apparently include Games Radar editor Josh West, who featured it on the publication's May 4th list of the 10 best Star Wars games available today. Sharing the article in a tweet, he wondered what it would take for the game to have a sequel and suggested that studios Relic or Blackbird might pick up the torch. This prompted Video Games Chronicle owner and editor Andy Robinson to drop the bombshell that a new Star Wars RTS is currently in development. West initially assumed that Robinson was referring to the untitled Star Wars strategy game being produced by Respawn Entertainment and developed by the newly formed studio Bit Reactor. EA quietly announced that game in January, but the publisher hasn't revealed anything about it since. However, Robinson clarified that he was talking about a different, unannounced game in development. Robinson didn't say much about this unannounced RTS. His only hint was that the new Star Wars game is being worked on by a big-name developer, which still leaves a lot of room for interpretation. Petroglyph seems like a natural choice, though it's presumably still busy with its upcoming game Earthbreakers. Relic Entertainment could be another likely contender now that Homeworld 3 and Company of Heroes 3's console port are wrapping up. Alternatively, Creative Assembly and Paradox Interactive have the potential to do something interesting with the Star Wars IP. Unfortunately, there isn't enough information to do more than speculate about the possibilities. EA's Star Wars license loses its exclusivity this year, so there's no saying who the new game's developer might be. Star Wars and RTS fans will just have to wait and see. Although Jedi Survivor released with some technical issues, the core game is great, and I hope Respawn keeps the quality standard moving forward. A gameplay reveal trailer for the gorgeous fantasy MMO Chrono Odyssey has been released. Chrono Odyssey is a name that even MMO fans may not recognize off the top of their heads. It's been mentioned briefly over the past several years but has taken longer to be ready to show than developer Npixel likely expected. Npixel is now ready to take that next step, however, and Chrono Odyssey's impressive gameplay seems likely to leave its mark in MMO fans' memories. Chrono Odyssey was first announced back in late 2020 as an Unreal Engine for open-world fantasy MMO. The project is being made by Npixel, developer of a game called Grand Saga, which has only recently received a global release outside of South Korea in 2023. That early announcement trailer surprised many with its stunning detail and dark atmosphere. Think Black Desert meets Final Fantasy XVI. Unfortunately, Chrono Odyssey disappeared for a while, leaving interested MMO players curious what its status was. Npixel is back and ready to show what Chrono Odyssey looks like in 2023, now upgraded to Unreal Engine 5. Chrono Odyssey's Twitter account surged to life at the start of April, sharing a variety of concept art and promising a gameplay reveal trailer to start May. That trailer is now available, and it may very well have been worth the wait. The 4-minute-long trailer features a mix of in-engine cinematics, exploration, and intense combat. Details worth calling attention to include Chrono Odyssey's open world, which Npixel also describes as ever-changing, with new weather and environments introduced each season. Also showcased is Chrono Odyssey's fast-paced action combat. 18 different jobs have previously been announced, many of which are shown in the trailer. Agile archers, armored swordsmen, and robed magic users are likely just the start of Chrono Odyssey's combat diversity. Another major feature to recognize is Chrono Odyssey's multiplayer battles. While there's plenty of solo combat shown, there are also battles featuring small parties and grand companies. Party features 4 different players battling a great beast and then a fire-breathing dragon. The larger battle features what must be dozens of players taking on a large winged void creature, offering a glimpse of the massively multiplayer gameplay experience Chrono Odyssey will offer. There's obviously a lot left for Npixel to share about its upcoming MMO, but this gameplay reveal trailer is an enticing first look. Details about Chrono Odyssey's open world, its complex job system, its epic story crossing time and space, and its release date and monetization plans, will have to wait for another time. Hopefully, Pixel won't make MMO fans wait another few years for the next Chrono Odyssey update. The success of the Nintendo Switch appears to be dwindling as of 2023, as Nintendo's profits lower to $6.6 billion, a 6.4% drop. Perhaps it's time for the hybrid console's rumored successor to show itself. Debuting just over 6 years ago, the Nintendo Switch has gone on a sales rampage, becoming Nintendo's highest-selling system of all time as well as its first system ever to surpass $1 billion in software sales. The notable ease at which to develop games for it, and of course a killer library of software. It marked a significant comeback for the company following 4 years' struggles with the Wii U, whose lifetime sales the Switch would surpass in less than a year on the market. Good for consumers, few things in life are eternal. As reported by GamesIndustry.biz, Nintendo's latest fiscal year, concluding in March 2023, was capped off with lower sales than predicted. The company had already predicted less sales than before, citing a semiconductor chip shortage and a post-lockdown sales decline that its competitors also experienced. In the latest report, the Switch sold 17.97 million units, a 22.1% drop, and grossed $11.8 billion in net sales, 5.5% down from the prior year, although digital sales saw a 12.7% increase at $3 billion. A common pattern sees the Switch soaring in software sales even as hardware sales decline, but even that failsafe reported a 9% drop. Nintendo originally forecast Switch sales of 21 million units for the fiscal year ending March 2023, which in itself represented a decline of 8.9% on the previous financial year. Its actual sales of 17.97 million units are 14.4% down on that forecast, and 22.1% lower than its sales from the previous year. Following the report, Nintendo also stated its forecast for the next fiscal year, predicting a 9.4% drop in net sales and declines in hardware and software sales by 16.5% and 15.9%, respectively. However, it's also banking on upcoming AAA releases such as the hype-inducing The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom to keep it afloat, alongside other, older software such as the ever-unstoppable Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But with Switch versions of third-party games being delayed or even outright cancelled a la Midnight Suns, it means that for the first time since the Wii U days, Nintendo would be relying mostly on its own output just to remain profitable. Nintendo highlighted some of the biggest-selling games of the past financial year, including Pokémon Scarlet and Violet, which has sold 22.1 million units since launching in November. Splatoon 3 has sold 10.67 million units since its September debut, while Nintendo Switch Sports has sold 9.6 million units since April. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe continues to sell well, adding another 8.45 million units over the past year. It stands as the biggest-selling Switch game of all time at 53.79 million units, more than 10 million ahead of the next biggest seller, Animal Crossing New Horizons, 42.21 million. Over the course of the fiscal year, 35 titles sold over 1 million units, including third-party games. Nintendo-published titles accounted for 22 of these. Switch is now the first Nintendo platform to sell more than 1 billion games, ahead of Nintendo DS 948.76 million. Looking ahead, Nintendo expects further decline, although hopes are high for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Pikmin 4 and DLC for Pokémon Scarlet and Violet to drive sales momentum. While 125.62 million lifetime console sales is nothing to scoff at, many are stating that 2023 marks the beginning of the end for the Nintendo Switch. It can be presumed that Nintendo has held off on announcing a follow-up due to its enduring success in spite of its more powerful competition. It's even managed to outsell one of the consoles that sealed the Wii U's fate, but with declining numbers, the competition growing even more impressive graphically, and repeated rumblings of an impending successor announcement. It just might be time for a shake-up. Nintendo's president recently shed light on whether his company will make any new hardware announcements in 2023. However, fans shouldn't expect any new Nintendo console announcements anytime soon, at least not according to Nintendo president Shuntaro Furukawa. According to a Bloomberg report made shortly after his company's latest financial report, via GamesRadar, he stated that there are currently no plans to announce any new or upgraded Nintendo hardware during the current fiscal year. This means that a new Switch successor won't be revealed until March 31, 2024 at the earliest. Furukawa's statement comes right when fans have started to wonder if a new Nintendo console could be announced in the wake of the Switch's reported drop in sales over the past 12 months. While software sales are as high as ever, an apparent lack of demand for hardware during the usually busy holiday season and a reported semiconductor shortage have led to a decrease in overall profit. Furukawa noted that sustaining the Switch's sales momentum in its 7th year will be difficult, but Nintendo is committed to its goal of selling 15 million units this year. Nikkei Asia now reports that Nintendo's next console won't launch before spring 2024, with one of its sources claiming that the development work on the system is otherwise progressing well. This insight is in line with what Nintendo itself has been saying on the subject of a Switch 2 announcement as recently as days ago. While the Switch successor's release window remains up in the air, past reports about the system seem to be in agreement about its broad feature set. For one, the gadget is widely expected to continue the hybrid design of the Switch, allowing for both portable play and TV-centric entertainment via a dock. Secondly, Nintendo's next console will possibly offer backward compatibility, which was a key feature missing from the Switch. One recent report also suggested that Nintendo's next console will once again be powered by an NVIDIA system-on-chip. The Switch utilizes NVIDIA's Tegra X1 chipset and is by far the most popular product to do so. Furukawa's statement that Nintendo has no plans to reveal any new hardware this year doesn't necessarily mean that a Switch 2 isn't in development. But anyone expecting such a system to appear during the upcoming summer announcement season might be in for a disappointment. A longtime Nintendo Switch manufacturing partner is providing LCD screens for a new console, and many are wondering if it is the next Switch. This doesn't necessarily mean that a new Nintendo console isn't already in the works, and a longtime manufacturer of Nintendo Switch parts has just confirmed it is working on a new project. Sharp CEO Robert Wu revealed that his company is currently developing LCD screens for an unspecified system during a recent earnings call. While he didn't reveal what exactly this new console is, he noted that it will supposedly launch sometime before March 2024. Sharp has supplied Nintendo with parts for the Switch, so many are naturally guessing that this new system Wu spoke of is Nintendo's next console. While this might contradict Shuntaro Furukawa's statement that Nintendo won't announce its new system until next year, some have pointed out that the Switch originally launched just a few months after it was formally announced. In the meantime, Nintendo remains committed to selling 15 million Switch units in 2023 despite the aforementioned drop in sales. Of course, the new console that Sharp is providing parts for could be anything, but Robert Wu's specific mention of LCD screens seems to suggest that it might be the much speculated Nintendo Switch successor. Wu also says that this console could launch as early as next March, so it might not be too much longer before gamers know what it is. Only time will tell when the next Nintendo console will be revealed to the public, but it looks like gamers might have to wait until next spring at the earliest to see it. I hope Switch makes a powerful console or hardware and move away from handheld. Speaking of Nintendo, Nintendo has announced that Nintendo Live 2023 will run from Friday, September 1st, to Monday, September 4th. The event will coincide with this year's PX West, which is organized by GamesIndustry.biz parent company ReedPop and will be located at the Seattle Convention Center. Nintendo Live 2023 will feature hands-on gameplay, stage performances, and gaming tournaments. Families are welcome and encouraged to join in the fun, as Nintendo Live 2023 is designed for people of all ages and gaming experience, said the gaming firm. For people who wish to attend, they can register for the chance to receive free tickets with the platform holder. Registration for the showcase will open on May 31st and close on June 22nd. Konami's fiscal year report says that the firm amassed $2.3 billion in revenue, up 5% when compared to 2022. Revenue was 314 billion yen, $2.33 billion, up 5% year-on-year, and profit was 34.9 billion yen, $260 million, down 36% year-on-year. Regarding specific game sales performances, Konami said Professional Baseball Spirits A grew revenues during the fourth quarter thanks to interest generated from the 2023 World Baseball Classic tournament. It also noted that eFootball 2023 has been downloaded over 600 million times since its launch. The fiscal year saw the releases of games such as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Cowabunga Collection, Amazing Bomberman, and WBSC eBaseball Power Pros. Konami noted that the TMNT title performed strongly in Europe and America. For the current fiscal year ending on March 31, 2024, Konami projects net sales to grow 4% to 328 billion yen, $2.44 billion. In addition, digital entertainment revenue is predicted to grow modestly to 216 billion yen, $1.61 billion. The games slated to launch during the fiscal year include Super Bomberman R2, Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster, and Signy All Guns Blazing. EA released its fourth quarter and 2022 fiscal year earnings report today, with full-year revenues up 6% to reach a total of $7.4 billion. While the company's Q4 period saw revenues up less than 3%, it also saw a bump of 11% year-on-year for net bookings driven by the EA Sports FIFA series. For the 3 months ended March 31, 2023, the revenue was $1.87 billion, up 3% year-on-year. For the 12 months ended March 31, 2023, the revenue was $7.43 billion, up 6% year-on-year. The EA FIFA partnership is going out on a high note, as EA said FIFA 23 took just 6 months to surpass the lifetime sales of FIFA 22. The latest entry also seems to have longer legs than its predecessor, as FIFA Series Q4 net bookings increased 31% year-over-year. Elsewhere in the catalog, Apex Legends peak weekly active users for its Season 16 were up 20% from Season 15, while The Sims 4 grew to a total player base of 70 million globally. EA posted a modest net loss for the Q4 period, one that can be attributed to $111 million in charges stemming from the restructuring and layoffs of 6% of staff announced in March. Record live services performance and increased engagement, particularly from our EA Sports FIFA franchise, drove better-than-expected Q4 net bookings, capping a strong finish to the fiscal year. EA Chief Financial Officer Chris Suh said, "Looking ahead, our teams remain disciplined in prioritizing the player experience as we continue to focus our investments on long-term growth." For the fiscal year ending on March 31, 2024, EA predicts that its revenues will range from $7.3 billion to $7.7 billion. Net bookings are also expected to be within the same range for the year. Electronic Arts says its future lies in developing games as a platform, building on the success it has seen with live service models for titles such as FIFA, The Sims and Apex Legends. During an earnings call following its most recent financial results, CEO Andrew Wilson was asked by an investor about the impact macroeconomic uncertainty has on consumer spending. Wilson said that some consumers rely more on familiar brands during such times, which puts EA in good stead, but that this current phase will pass and there will be opportunities to focus on new IP. But what we don't think that will outweigh is this movement to these broader social ecosystems that are games as platforms, he said, according to a transcript by Seeking Alpha. What we are seeing is the evolution of the definition of a game. He continued, as we think about building EA Sports FC for the future, The Sims, Battlefield, Apex, Skate and other properties in our portfolio. We really think about that in the context of building games as a platform or content as a platform to drive these long-term businesses across our pillars of play, watch, create, connect. We think this will be longer lasting than the present kind of macroeconomic climate. And certainly, that's where we're investing meaningful parts of our time, money, and resources over the coming years. Wilson added that this does not take away from the opportunity to launch more standalone titles like Star Wars Jedi Survivor. He said that a great portion of our investment will go into games that cater to massive online communities, but EA will follow up with a more focused, deliberate investment against telling blockbuster interactive stories. Later in the call, Wilson said that the publisher will be giving its development teams longer lead times on new titles, not just for quality but also to account for building experiences designed to attract large audiences for a decade or more. It's really not just about the complexity of games, he said. It's really about the changing nature of what it is that we're building, but more importantly, the changing nature of how we derive value from that development over the long term. So where we once built games in 1 year or 2 years and then monetized them over 5 weeks or 5 months, now games as a platform are taking longer, but the benefits are exponentially greater. Elsewhere in the call, the CEO was asked about the impact of industry consolidation and whether he expects there to be more, to which he replied, almost certainly at some level. EA confirmed its 2023 and early 2024 slate of upcoming projects in a recent financial report, and 2 games that fans were hoping were coming soon seemingly are not. Both Skate 4 and Dragon Age Dreadwolf were left off the publisher's upcoming schedule, which lists its releases through March 2024. Skate 4's absence may be most disappointing to fans. While there are other titles gamers can turn to while they await Skate 4, EA's newest iteration of the series will now be rolling out at least 13 years after 2010's Skate 3. EA handed the series to its newly established Vancouver-based studio, Full Circle. Both Duran Chung and Cuz Perry, a pair of Skate's original creators, are on board to help develop the fourth entry in the series. Dragon Age Dreadwolf's 2023 absence is no doubt disappointing to its awaiting fan base as well. However, given the vastly larger scale of the project and its various development hiccups, many fans may have suspected the team at BioWare would need more development time. Dreadwolf began development in 2015 before production was suspended multiple times as BioWare worked to solve the problems both Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem suffered at launch. In February 2021, it was reported that the live service aspects of Dragon Age Dreadwolf were going to be removed entirely to shift the project toward a single-player focused design following the success of Star Wars: Jedi Fallen Order. This later led to rumors that Dragon Age Dreadwolf would be influenced by 2018's God of War. EA's new Skate entry is also trying something different. Full Circle is developing Skate 4 as a free-to-play title set in the fictitious city of San Vansterdam. The project is targeting releases on Mac, mobile, PC, PlayStation, and Xbox consoles. No launch window has been announced, though the game has only been in official development since June 2020. EA is still in solid shape with its remaining slate of 2023 projects. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is one of the most popular games out. On the upcoming docket are the popular sports titles Madden 24, NHL 24, EA Sports FC, F1 23, and Super Mega Baseball 4. And the publisher hopes to make a splash with its upcoming first-person shooter, Immortals of Aveum, when it releases on PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X on July 20th. He also used the opportunity to address the recent block against Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard, saying that while he doesn't know what will happen to the transaction, whether or not the deal goes through is not really material to us broadly. I think we're the #1 publisher on their platform, he said. We think we have the scale, our network, our IP and our talent to continue to navigate the future and lead the future of entertainment and compete in a marketplace regardless of whether that deal goes through or not. He added, I would love for us to have the scale to be a meaningful consolidator in that space. I think that we have tremendous assets with respect to the future of entertainment. But as it stands today, I think that we're indifferent as to whether that goes through or not. We feel like we have an incredible strategy. We feel like we have an incredible opportunity. And whether it goes through or not, we will continue to be the #1 publisher on the Microsoft platform. PUBG publisher Krafton's Q1 2023 earnings was up 3% year-over-year, reaching $408 million in consumer spending. Console and PC sales for PUBG grew to 68% year-over-year during the quarter. It comprised 33% of the gaming firm's total quarterly revenue. The game reached its 6th anniversary back in March. The company noted that the game's new map-making feature contributed to the growth of its mobile game label. Looking ahead, the games firm intends to expand its operations as a publisher with self-developed games and minority stake investments. The company has plans to form a virtual organization to better support the 24 project pipelines under development within its ecosystem, it said. Back in February, Krafton opened its first Canadian studio. The division is developing a video game adaptation of Yongdo Lee's fantasy novel, The Bird That Drinks Tears. Guerrilla Games, the studio behind gamer-acclaimed PlayStation first-party video game series such as Killzone and Horizon, has just announced a major milestone for the Horizon series. Founded in 2003, Guerrilla Games has been credited for its utilization of PlayStation hardware to create games with amazing visuals using its signature Decima game engine that is also being used by other developers, like Kojima Productions with its Death Stranding series. Guerrilla Games departed from the first-person shooter series Killzone and released Horizon Zero Dawn in 2017. The series follows the story of Aloy, a tribal huntress who lives in a post-apocalyptic world overrun by machines. Since its release, Horizon Zero Dawn received an expansion and the studio released 2 other games in the series, Horizon Forbidden West and Horizon Call of the Mountain. Following in the footsteps of the original game, Horizon Forbidden West recently received an expansion as well. Guerrilla Games recently took a moment to celebrate the studio's 20th anniversary of the studio and announce an amazing milestone for the Horizon series. The studio shared online that as of April 16, 2023, the Horizon series has sold 32.7 million copies, with the sequel Horizon Forbidden West selling over 8.4 million units. The studio also included that millions more have discovered Horizon Forbidden West through PlayStation Plus subscription services and play at home. Fans of Guerrilla Games congratulated the studio on its success in the replies, with many of them already anticipating a Horizon 3 announcement and other possible spin-off titles for the series. Others questioned if the Killzone series would make a return, but it seems like Guerrilla Games has shifted focus to Horizon for the foreseeable future given the massive success of the series as well as leaks of an unannounced Horizon multiplayer project that may be currently in development. Regardless of what is currently in development, Guerrilla Games definitely seems to have hit its stride as a studio with the Horizon series and Decima engine. It is impressive to see the studio's growth over the past 20 years, while crossing huge milestones it never imagined possible. Recently, a first-party PlayStation studio shared a post online that confirmed Sony has shut it down. The studio in question is Pixel Opus, and highlights a concerning development with PlayStation and its lack of first-party studios when it comes to developing creative different games. While no official reasoning for the closing of Pixel Opus has been revealed, it marks yet another studio being shut down by a larger publisher such as Sony. Pixel Opus was established in 2014 as an in-house studio for Sony Interactive Entertainment, meaning it made PlayStation-exclusive titles. Pixel Opus had only released 2 games since its debut, those being Entwined and Concrete Genie. Pixel Opus started as a small team, and has developed titles for the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and PS Vita. The news of the studio shutting down comes from a Twitter post by the official Pixel Opus account. The tweet from Pixel Opus states that our Pixel Opus adventure has come to an end. As we look to new futures, we wanted to say a heartfelt thank you to the millions of passionate players who have supported us. No official reasoning for Sony's decision to shut down the studio has been provided, and it remains confusing for some fans as Pixel Opus was developing a new PS5 title, a project that has now been cancelled. Fans of Pixel Opus replied to the news with confusion, as well as disappointment for the closing of the first-party studio. It also resembles the recent restructuring of Japan Studio, another first-party PlayStation studio that worked on games like Gravity Rush, The Puppeteer and Knack, which Sony trademarked just last year. Studio Japan was completely shut down, almost a 90% cut, but was refocused into its spin-off studio known as Team Asobi. Other fans expressed concern about Sony, and the possibility of other studios like Media Molecule being shut down as well. PlayStation Studios regularly evaluates its portfolio and the status of studio projects to ensure they meet the organization's short and long-term strategic objectives, a PlayStation representative told IGN. As part of a recent review process, it has been decided that Pixel Opus will close on June 2nd. While many studios are closed down for reasons pertaining to performance or lackluster titles, Pixel Opus closing comes while the studio was developing a new title in collaboration with Sony Pictures Animation. As fans of the 9-year-old studio await more information about the closing of Pixel Opus, people can only speculate as to the reason for this PlayStation studio being shut down. This falls in line with the other studio closures such as Evolution Studios and the former Twisted Metal makers. Capcom released its financial earnings report for the year ended March 31, 2023, which saw the company set a new net sales record for the 6th consecutive year. For the 12 months ended March 31, 2023, net sales was 126 billion yen, $940 million, up 14% year-over-year, and net income was 36.7 billion yen, $273 million, up 13% year-over-year. The biggest new games of the year for Capcom were Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak and the Resident Evil 4 Remake, which sold 5.45 million copies and 3.75 million copies, respectively. Resident Evil 4's sales figure only represents the initial launch of the game, as it was released with just 1 week remaining in Capcom's fiscal year. Capcom also reported strong catalog sales led by Monster Hunter Rise's 3.7 million copies. The company reported 6 million selling titles for the fiscal year that were released in previous years. with Resident Evil 3 and Resident Evil 2 actually seeing year-over-year increases in units sold. Overall, Capcom reported sales of 41.7 million copies of its games, up 28% year-over-year. The company's growth was driven by its digital distribution business on PC and consoles, as packaged goods sales decreased 40% year-over-year to 18 billion yen, $134 million, while mobile content revenues dipped 33% to 2.8 billion yen, $21 million. Looking ahead, Capcom expects its packaged goods sales to decrease further while the mobile content recovers and shows slight growth in the current fiscal year. For the new fiscal year, Capcom projects net sales up 11% to 140 billion yen, $1.04 billion, with net income up 9% to 40 billion yen, $298 million. It also expects to sell 45 million games this year, led by major releases like Street Fighter VI and Pragmata. Good financial results also impacted Capcom's shares, which are being sold at 5,270 Japanese yen, JPY, at the time of this report. As a comparison, they were at around 3,300 Japanese yen a year ago, and 1,300 Japanese yen 5 years ago, showing just how meteoric the company's financial rise has been. It's definitely a far cry from the time when the company released Resident Evil 6, for instance, often considered one of the worst entries in the Resident Evil franchise. Capcom had its best financial year ever by selling more games than any other previous year in its history. This was the 6th consecutive year in which the company managed to sell even more games than before, thanks to a few big hitters and a huge catalog with many excellent remakes of famous Capcom franchises. Bandai Namco's fiscal year financial report says the firm saw an 11% jump as it hit $7.3 billion. Net sales for 2023 was 990 billion yen, $7.3 billion, up 11% year-on-year. Dragon Ball FighterZ and Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 have sold 10M units each. Xenoverse 2 hit the sales milestone 7 years after release. FighterZ reached the sales count 5 years since its launching. Bandai Namco did not discuss the performance of any other games. Still, their major titles for the year included One Piece Odyssey, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R, Digimon Survive, Dragon Ball The Breakers, and the continued sales of Elden Ring, which released as a month remained in the firm's previous fiscal year. Breaking down the digital entertainment video game segment, Bandai Namco's network content, mobile and some PC titles, pulled in 194 billion yen, $1.4 billion, up 4% year-on-year. Meanwhile, home video game net sales reached 160 billion yen, $1.2 billion, down 8% compared to last year. For the current fiscal year, Bandai Namco projects that both parts of the business will be up, with network content hitting 200 billion yen, $1.5 billion, and home video games reaching 170 billion yen, $1.3 billion. The home games division launched 62 titles and sold 48.3 million units. Next year it intends to release 40 new games and sell 48 million copies. Regarding home video game sales, Europe led with 19.5 million units sold. The Americas moved 18.7 million copies, and Japan sold 10 million games during the fiscal year. Looking ahead, Bandai Namco has forecasted that net sales will hit $7.4 billion for the fiscal year ending on March 31, 2024. Unity has released its financial results for the 3 months ended March 31, 2023, with strong revenues for the quarter but losses on the rise year-on-year. Revenue was $500 million, up 56% year-on-year, and net loss was $253 million, up 30% year-on-year. In the shareholder letter published alongside the results, Unity noted a strong Q1 2023 which exceeded revenue guidance previously shared. The company was expecting revenues of $480 million. Looking at Create Solutions, Unity's business vertical that includes its games engine and strategic partnerships, revenue was up year-on-year. Given that our strategic partnership quarterly revenue is impacted by the timing of large deals, we are also providing our Create Solutions revenue excluding strategic partnerships, which was $170 million, up 17% year-over-year, the report read. This rate of growth is slower than our recent performance, as Weta is now in the base, and a slower rate of growth in professional services, PS, as we reduce our reliance on PS to drive adoption of digital twins. Unity acquired VFX platform Weta Digital in November 2021 for $1.6 billion. The report also noted key wins within games, pointing to Unity's partnership with the Talking Tom and Friends titles developer Outfit 7, over 20 billion downloads, as well as Second Dinner's Marvel Snap reaching 18 million downloads during Q1 2023. The report also addressed the recent news of 600 staff being laid off, which it described as efforts to be more productive, streamlined and nimble as we continue to position Unity for long-term and profitable growth in an evolving economic environment. The company also noted its strong position in the growing AI space, saying, "We embraced AI years ago and see the adoption of AI tools as an accelerant to our business based on our structural and sustainable competitive advantages." Looking ahead, Unity expects Q2 2023 to generate between $510 million and $520 million in revenue, which would be between 72% to 75% growth over last year. Our assumption is that the ads market will be relatively flat quarter over quarter and that we will continue to gain share and perform ahead of the market, it read. We are guiding adjusted EBITDA from $50 to $60 million, which takes into account the restructuring announced last week and represents another significant profitability increase from the -$38 million delivered in the second quarter of 2022. The redundancies announced earlier this month were the third round of layoffs for the company in less than a year. Unity laid off 200 people in June 2022, and 300 in January 2023. Speaking of closures and layoffs, Unity, one of the most popular game engines in the world, has laid off 600 employees and also plans to cut down its office locations from 58 to 30. The global tech industry has already seen a record number of layoffs across major tech firms recently, and this is the third time in the past year that Unity has reduced its workforce. The Unity engine has been used to develop some of the most popular games available today, including titles like Pokémon Go, Cuphead, Rust, Genshin Impact, and many others. Apart from console and PC games, it has also been used to develop VR and mobile games, which puts it right next to Epic's Unreal Engine in terms of widespread usage and popularity. However, Unity was also forced to rethink its strategy amid the global tech slowdown, which eventually led to company-wide layoffs. As reported by Wall Street Journal, Unity's total workforce has been reduced by around 8%, and this takes the tally of laid-off employees to over 1,000. The first round of layoffs came in January 2022, which saw 285 people being let go, and the second one came in June 2022, when an additional 300 Unity employees were laid off. Unity's CEO, John Riccitiello, said, "It's all about setting ourselves up for higher growth," and emphasized that it was a bid to improve the company's profitability and streamline its operations. Unity announced its first-ever profitable quarter in 2022 after being established in 2004, with a record revenue of $1.39 billion. However, the forecasts for the month of June 2023 have reportedly gone down and the company's share price has taken a dip owing to that. This hasn't stopped it from investing in new technologies, as Unity previously acquired Ziva Dynamics, which helps developers create realistic human characters using a combination of machine learning and biomechanics. Before that, it also acquired Peter Jackson's VFX studio, Weta Digital, which was another strategic move to bolster Unity's position in the industry. The cuts equal about 8% of the company's headcount, and will leave it with roughly 7,000 employees worldwide. Unity is also planning to have employees return to in-office work at least 3 days a week starting in September. Unity confirmed layoffs of about 200 people last June, although Riccitiello told months later that most of the impacted employees had stayed with the company in a new capacity. That was followed in January by the company laying off nearly 300 more. Unity CEO John Riccitiello also stirred up controversy in the past by claiming that developers who don't monetize their games are the most beautiful and pure, brilliant people. They're also some of the biggest idiots. Many believe this was an insult to developers, especially considering Riccitiello is the former CEO of EA, which was heavily criticized for its use of loot boxes in Star Wars Battlefront 2. Play-In is also restructuring its games publishing business, which is expected to result in layoffs. A number of jobs are at stake as the publisher, which rebranded from Koch Media last year, merges multiple publishing labels into one. A slide from an internal presentation shared shows the company plans to drop 3 of its publishing labels, Deep Silver, Prime Matter and Ravenscourt, and instead publish all associated titles under the Play-In brand. Sources tell that the aim is to produce fewer titles at a higher quality. GamesIndustry.biz reached out to Playin for comment and clarification. A company representative told us the restructuring was part of simplifying our publishing operations, and that it will likely only affect around 5 to 6 jobs. The company employs over 2,000. They also emphasized that this is not an immediate change, but part of a process that will take up to 12 months. Titles may even be published under Deep Silver, Prime Matter and Ravenscourt over the next couple of years. Coke created the Deep Silver label in 2002 and Ravenscourt in 2015. While the former handles the firm's biggest titles such as Saints Row, Metro and Dead Island, the latter initially focused on simulation games before moving on to indie and more family-friendly titles like Let's Sing. Prime Matter, meanwhile, was a new label created in 2021, and was handling titles such as The Next Painkiller and the Switch edition of Warhorse Studios' Kingdom Come Deliverance. Going forward, Playin's publishing operations for these 3 brands will be built around 4 pillars: games portfolio and business, publishing services, global sales and marketing, and distribution partnership. The company's other 2 brands, Milestone and Vertigo Games, were not mentioned and may be unaffected. Playin acquired VR developer Vertigo Games in 2020, while Milestone was acquired by Coke in 2019. Back in November, Embracer Group announced it was launching a special review of all its business operations due to the challenges of geopolitical and social issues around the world and the new macroeconomic reality. Over the past 6 years, Embracer has spent billions of dollars on dozens of acquisitions, including Koch Media back in 2018. According to its 2022 annual report, the company owned 118 studios across 10 operative groups, such as Playin and THQ Nordic, with a headcount of 12,760 people. The Playin representative told GamesIndustry.biz its restructuring is nothing to do with the Embracer review. With these layoffs, Unity and Playin has now joined Microsoft and Amazon, which announced massive layoffs in Xbox and Luna, respectively, alongside other developers like EA and Take-Two Interactive that have also announced several job cuts. And that's all for the video, guys. Like and share the video for a greater audience. Comment your thoughts on the topics, and donations are always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then, from SMPV, it's goodbye.